This tutorial is for Clue 6 of the Connote pattern by Janica Carter, which is the 2025 year-long mystery crochet-along pattern from Expression Fiber Arts. In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to work the basics of the Clue 6 steps, but it is going to be on a shortened swatch, and I am going to do my best to remind you the number of times that you need to do something versus the number of times that I am doing something, because my repeats are going to be different from yours just because I'm not working it on the full-size project. I will be demonstrating both using larger yarn. That is, I'm using the Dewy DK yarn, which is a DK weight from Expression Fiber Arts. It's a bigger swatch. It's easier to see what I'm doing. I'm also going to demonstrate on the smaller swatch using the actual yarn that is recommended for this project, which is the Expression Fiber Arts CashSilk Sock. But the Dewy DK will be first and the CashSilk Sock will be second. So if you want, there are timestamps in the video description below, so you can jump to whichever part you want to watch. Okay, before I work the actual project, before I work the project rows or the clue rows, there are several things that I want to point out. So first thing is this wedge that you end up making for this clue may curl over at the top, kind of curling to the left. That is somewhat normal. Okay, you just don't want the curl to be so substantial that you can't just take your hand and straighten it out without a whole lot of effort. You should be able to pull this straight without having to like really yank it hard. If you notice that it's pulling over substantially and you can't pull it straight, where you're carrying your unused yarn color up the edge needs to be looser. Okay, so that's probably the primary culprit. You can also work on making your chain one and turn a little bit looser if you feel like this is not coming straight easily. But if all you have to do is just give it a little tug like I'm doing here and it straightens out, you should be able to block it out just fine. All right, you just don't want it so pronounced of a curl over here that you cannot literally cannot pull it straight because it's curled over so hard. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing has to do with how the end of, or the bottom, I guess the side, whatever you want to call it, this part where clue 6 attaches to clue 5. Okay, I'm bringing it up now because I know sometimes people like to work along with me as the tutorial runs. And if you're one of those people, please, I'm asking you now, please jump to the end of the video. It's the very last timestamp, and it is the timestamp of my modification for the bottom of the clue. Okay, my modification. It's not in the pattern. It's totally up to you if you want to do it. It's just the way that the clue looks here next to clue 5. So where clue 6 attaches to clue 5, you do get these, it's kind of a hole between each of the sections, and you also, the texture changes. So I don't know if you, it's probably not that easy to see on camera, but you have a very flat texture here, and then you've got these little ridges that kind of come up, and this is because when you are at the end of a right side row, we're skipping the last stitch and then coming down and working on to the top of clue 5. So I did a modification. My modification eliminates this hole and it flattens out the appearance of this row, the part that's closest to the top of clue 5. So this end of each right side row, I work it a little bit differently. But if you're going to work along with me and you decide, hey, I really want to work it differently, I would rather you know up front what to do when you get to the part of the row that you need to change from the pattern than get all the way through and then see the modification I made and go, oh man, I really wish I'd done that. So here's what you get with my modification, which is, first of all, the fabric stays pretty well flat. But then the place where you actually do, you have a tiny little hole, but it's basically the size of a stitch or a single crochet at the border. between clue 5 and clue 6 rather than being essentially 2 stitches tall, like working when you work the pattern as written. So again, this is my modification. It's not anything that's in the pattern, and it's definitely not something that you need to do. But if you like the way this looks better, I am going to demonstrate how I modified the pattern to get that. All that to say, if there is any chance you want to do it differently, you want it to look more like this than this, which again, you end up with these kind of substantial sized holes. If that's something that you're interested in, please go watch that part first. Again, there are timestamps in the video description. You can jump down to those, see that, figure out what you want to do, and then if you're working along with me, you can do it that way instead. So with that said, let's jump in. At the end of our clue 5, so you should have ended with your last row will be in your color D, and then at the very end of your last row you should have switched back to your color E at the end. So that would be the loop that is at the end of your last row of clue 5. Now, when we're working clue 6, we are going to be working into the top row of clue 5. So I'll begin referring back to this row, this final row of clue 5, quite a bit throughout the tutorial. But just be aware, we're going to be working back into this. Much like we did when we worked clue 4, we're going to be working another wedge. So we're going to be creating our wedge differently than we did in clue 4. We're actually going to start with a big long strand. We're going to chain up from the top of clue 5, this edge. We're going to chain up, we're going to make a long chain, and we're going to work back, and then we're going to create the wedge working back this way, back and forth across, and just gradually decreasing the size as we get all the way over to this wedge. So before you begin, really, really, really important, count your stitches across the top of clue 5. You want to make sure, absolutely sure, that you have 109 stitches here, that you don't have too few, that you don't have too many. If you don't have the right number of stitches across the top of your clue 5, you are not going to be able to work the pattern as it's written. You're going to run into either run out of stitches before you need them, or before you're done using them, or you're going to have too many stitches and not be able to work into them. So it's really, really important that you have the right number of stitches before you start. So that's kind of the first thing. Make sure that the top of your clue 5 has the right number of stitches, which, assuming you're working the full-size project and you haven't done some decrease that I'm not aware of, you want to make sure it's 109 stitches. All right, second thing is your hook size. So we've kind of talked about, we've gone back and forth with depending on the clue. I started with the hook size as recommended in the pattern to do my clue 1, and then I had to go down a hook size to do clue 2 in order to get my edges to stay straight, and then stayed there for my clue 3 because these bobbles really pull in. And then with clue 4, you may have needed to go back up a hook size to, I probably should have here, it does pull in a little bit. And then clue 6, I had to go back down because this clue likes to spread out. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do here, but my recommendation is to start with the hook size that you were working with clue 5 and work 4 rows. So do the chain and then the first 4 rows of clue 6, and then I'll show you when I get there, but you're basically going to bring your edge, this long edge that you're making here off the top of your clue 5, you're going to bring it across, and you're going to make sure that it matches the width of your project. Okay, so, and if it doesn't, then you're going to want to rip back and start again with a smaller hook. But you do want to do those 4 rows because that is actually what's going to pull the chain down to the correct size. And if you do it too, like if you just do the chain and then measure, it's going to be way too long, and you don't want to do that because it's working the stitches into the chain over several rows that's actually going to make the chain the actual size that length of yarn is going to be. So let's get started. I am going to start with, because I worked with Again, I'm working on the Dewy DK, so I guess it probably doesn't matter unless you're doing a larger project for some reason, but this is a US I or 9 5.5 millimeter hook. And you, with your full-size project, are going to chain 109. Because I'm working a smaller project, I'm going to chain far fewer. But you just want your chains to be fairly even. You don't want to make them too tight. And you just want them to be nice and even. Okay, once you have finished making your chain, count your chain. Count it twice if you need to. You want to make absolutely sure, just like you did to make sure that you had 109 stitches across your top edge of clue 5. You want to make absolutely sure that you have exactly 109 chain stitches here and not any more and not any less. Okay, so once you have counted or double counted your chain to make sure that you have the exact right number, what you're going to do as we're going to work row 1 is turn to the back side of the chain. So the front of the chain is what makes these V's, kind of going into each other. The loop will look like this on the front, and then on the back you have a bump. Okay, so we are going to be working into the bumps on the back of the chain. That's what's going to make our edge look nice and neat. And so for row 1, you're going to skip the first chain. All right, so turn to the back. You're also going to skip this first bump. So the chain that's just directly below the hook, we're skipping that. And then starting in the second bump, you're just going to work a single crochet in each of the chain or each of the bumps of the back of the chain all the way back down. You want to make sure you get all the way through that bump. And you're just going to single crochet in each bump on the back of your chain. So as you get near the end of your chain, you want to make sure that you get this last stitch that is down connected to your top of your clue 5 row. All right, so once you've done a single crochet in the second from the hook and all the way down the chain, then you also are going to want, make sure you're on the correct side of your fabric, but you're going to want to work a single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches of this last row of clue 5. So remember, your chain is actually kind of around this first stitch, so you want to make sure you get into that and not the next one. All right, so if you work into the wrong stitch, you're going to mess up you're not going to have the right number of stitches across. So you want to make sure that you're getting into that very first stitch, which is where that your color E is connected, and then the stitch after that. Okay, so at the end of row 1, you should have this chain that has single crochets in it. You've skipped the first chain and then worked a single crochet into the back loop of all the rest of these chains, including the one that's connected to your top of your clue 5, and then one single crochet in that first stitch, which is where your chain connected of clue 5. That's the top row of clue 5, and then the second stitch at the top of clue 5. Okay, so that's the end of row 1. So then we turn to the wrong side. We actually do a chain 1 first, and then we turn to the wrong side of our work, and we are going to skip the first stitch. So that's this single crochet that's in the second stitch from the edge on our top of clue 5 row. We're going to skip that one. We're going to single crochet in the next single crochet. And then we are going to work the following sequence. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. All right, so you chain a stitch, skip a single crochet, and then work a single crochet into the next stitch. And you're just going to do this all the way back up your chain. Chain, skip, single crochet, chain, skip, single crochet, chain, skip, single crochet, chain, whoops. You want to make sure you're not pulling these chains too tight, or they're going to be too hard to see when you need to go, because you're going to be working into those chain stitches. Okay, chain, skip, single crochet, chain, skip, single crochet, chain, skip, single crochet, chain, skip, single crochet, and you're just going to work that all the way up until you get to 2 stitches remaining. So when you have those 2 stitches remaining is where I'll meet you. All right, so chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch, and then at that end you should have 2 stitches left, 2 more stitches on your previous row. So when you have 2 stitches remaining at the end of this row, so you've done a chain 1, skip 1, work a single crochet, and now you should have 2 stitches left at the very end. So you want to go ahead and get your color F yarn ready, because we're going to kind of do a sequence that involves more than one thing. So first we're going to be doing a single crochet decrease. So we're going to go into this first stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, go into the second stitch, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to drape my color F over my hook. So I'm not doing anything with it, but then I'm going to yarn over and pull a loop through kind of around that. That's going to catch my yarn right there so that it's ready for me to now drop my color E, and I can pick up my color F from underneath that, and then I'm going to do that final yarn over, pull through 3. So I did both the single crochet decrease and switched to my color F at the end of this row. Okay, so I timestamped that. If you want to jump back and watch it again to see how I did it, you can do that. So that is the end of row 2. So for row 2, you should have this little attachment down here at the end, like where your top of clue 5 is. It should be attached on 2 stitches here. So at the very end, you should have a single crochet, and then you should have chain 1 that is skipping a stitch, and then single crochet. So chain, single crochet, chain, single crochet. And of course, those chain stitches should all be over a single crochet that you skipped in the previous row. All the way up here to the end, the last stitch is a single crochet decrease, so that's into 2 stitches, turning 2 stitches into 1, and then you've switched to your color F here at the very end. All right, row 3 of clue 6 begins our repeated rows. So the only reason that we have rows 3, 4, 5, and 6 as repeats, as opposed to just like rows 3 and 4. Technically, rows 3 and 4 and rows 5 and 6 are worked the exact same way. So row 3 and 5 are worked the exact same way. Rows 4 and 6 are worked the exact same way. Only at the end of row 4 and at the end of row 6, you're switching to a different color of yarn. And so that's why they're written out twice, basically, is to remind you you're changing to this specific color. So instead of writing row 3 with one, with a color, work row 3 and 4, with the other color, work rows 5 and 6. She's designating the actual colors that you're working with, but otherwise rows 3 and 5 are identical, rows 4 and 6 are identical. You're just repeating them and switching to your other color at the end of every even side or wrong side row. Okay, so for row 3, we're going to start with a chain 1, and then you want to turn back to the right side of your work. And then we're going to be doing something similar to the last row, but we're going to start by working a single crochet decrease in the first 2 single crochets of the row. So insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And then because we have these chain spaces followed by a single crochet, we're going to be working a single crochet in the chain space. So this is the pattern repeat: single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Do that again. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. You're just going to work this until you're almost to the end of your chain. So when I get maybe 2 or 3 chain spaces away from the end of the chain, I'm going to pick it up there. So, all right, and when you get near the end, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, And you're going to do this until you get to the very last chain 1 space. So you're going to chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and then you're going to single crochet in this last chain space. And then you're going to skip the next single crochet, which is that first single crochet at the end of your long strip here, and then you're going to work 2 single crochets. So we're skipping this one on the color E line, and then we're coming down here to our top row of clue 5, and we're going to work a single crochet into each of the next 2 single crochets. So 1, 2. So you do want to make sure when you get down here, when you're working into the top of clue 5, that you're not working, or first of all, that you're not working into the same single crochet that you worked into previously, that you're going over to the next one, and also that you're not skipping one. So you want to make sure that the single crochets that end up in the top of your clue 5 row are all right next to each other, that you're not getting them too close together by working into the same stitch, and then you're not getting too far apart by skipping one. Okay, so at the end of row 3, your strip should look like this. You should have the single crochets that are going around the chain spaces that look like they're kind of dipping down around the stitches of the previous row here. And then when you get down to your clue 5 row, you should have 2 stitches in your color E and 2 stitches in your color F. So that is a odd number or right side row, technically row 3. So for row 4, chain 1, turn to the wrong side. Okay, so once you've turned to the wrong side, for row 4, we're going to start by skipping the first single crochet. So that is this technically in the 4th stitch of our top of row 5. So we're skipping this one. And then we're going to work a single crochet into the next single crochet here. Then we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the single crochet and work a single crochet into the chain space. Okay, and that's our pattern repeat. Chain 1, skip the next single crochet. So that's the one that dips down around the other color, and then work a single crochet in the chain space. Okay, and we're going to do this all the way back up to the end. Chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space. And you're going to do this until you have 2 stitches remaining at the end of this strip. So once you get there, once you finish that single crochet in the last chain space, you're just going to work one more of the single crochet decrease. So insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, insert your hook in the stitch after that, and again we're going to switch back to our other color. So when I insert my hook, I'm actually going to bring the other color up over the hook and just drape it there. So I'm bringing it across the inside edge so I'm bringing it kind of over from the edge to the right and bringing it around the hook or over the hook from right to left. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through a loop with my current color, then drop the current color, make sure that everything's kind of nice and tight. All these loops on my hook are pretty snug, that I don't have any big, large, gappy loops, and then yarn over with my new color and pull through all 3. Okay, so that single crochet decrease at the end, that is the end of row 4. And this is what it should look like when you have finished your row 4. And you should see here at the end a definite slope on the end of your strip. Okay. All right. So row 5 is, again, just like row 3. So we're going to start with a chain 1, and then we're going to turn back to the front of the work. And we're going to start row 5 with a single crochet decrease over these first 2 stitches. Okay, so insert your hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, insert your hook in the second stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And then we're going to work the same repeated sequence that we did in row 3, which is single crochet in the next stitch, which is this chain space. So single crochet there, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space. You're just going to do that until you get toward the end. You're going to do that all the way to when you have one chain space remaining, which is where I'm going to meet you. So when you single crochet in your final chain space, got one more. So chain, skip, single crochet in that last chain space. You're going to have stitches here at the end. This stitch, the single crochet here, we're going to be skipping that. All right, so we're going to skip the single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet in 2 stitches that are on the top of row 5. So again, we're going to make sure we come to the stitch that's immediately after the one we worked into last time. So we're going to skip this one, or sorry, skip the stitch that's up here on the strip, and then come down to row 5 and work a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, making sure that we're actually in the next 2 stitches and not sharing a stitch with a previous and not skipping a stitch. All right, so at the end of row 5, that is what your strip should look like. You should have this nice little slope on the top end, and then the single crochets that are kind of worked in between each other because they're worked into the chain spaces. So they're kind of forming little teeth or something that go down into the other color. And then the 2 color E single crochets in the top row of clue 5. And so at this point, you should have a total of 6 stitches. So every time you turn and work back on a wrong side row, whatever number that wrong side row is, that's how many stitches you should have in the top of your clue 5 row. So your top row of clue 5, when you turn to work row 6, should have 6 single crochets across the top row. When you turn to work row 10, you should have 10 single crochets across the top of clue 5. When you turn to work row 100, you should have 100 stitches across the top of clue 5. Okay? In the same stitch as that last stitch at the end of row 109, then we can do a single crochet decrease. All right, so you get this 1 stitch, which is what I am doing for now. But I am waiting for clarification on this last stitch. Row 111 currently doesn't work with the way that this wedge works. And so once I get clarification on that, I will post an update in the Ravelry forum. I probably won't edit the video further from this, just because I'd rather get the video out than wait longer on clarification. So with that said, that is how you work clue, let's see, get all my strands out of the way here so you can see. That is how you work clue 6 in the Dewy DK and what it should look like. So you've got this wedge, you've got the little, it's got, I like to think of them little teeth that go back and forth into the opposite color. And again, you should be able to block out, it will want to curl a little bit up here on the top edge of this wedge, and that should block out pretty easily. All right, you should have plenty of give to be able to just kind of pull it straight. And if you don't, then you may want to go back and work make sure that you're not pulling the color that you're changing. When you're changing color, you want to make sure you're not pulling that too tightly, because that can be a way that wedge or that edge gets pulled down in a way that you can't pull it straight. So you just want to make sure that you can pull it straight with your hand. If you can't, it's not going to block straight. So that's kind of it for the Dewy DK version. If you want to skip ahead, there is a shortened version on the CashSilk Sock. Other than that, one more tip I'm going to give you at the very end, and it has to do with if you, like myself, are not a fan of these holes that are created when we skip the stitch at the end of, and that's going to get you to the end where you should have 2 stitches remaining, at which point you're going to work a single crochet decrease and switch to the other color. So insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop. Insert your hook in the second stitch, and if you want to carry your yarn colors not on the outside edge, then drape your new color over your hook from right to left, and then yarn over with the old color, yarn over and whoops, yarn over with the old color and pull through one, and then drop the old color and pick up the new color to yarn over and pull through all three, and that will switch you to your new color. That will increase this slope on the top edge of the strip, and that is the end of row 6. So I'm going to work rows 3 through 6 one more time, just as a repeat, and hopefully with a little bit less talking, just if you want to follow those. But essentially working rows 3 through 6 is going to decrease the height of this strip as we get over to, let's see if I can pull this out here so you can see all of it. So maybe, all right. So as we're decreasing this strip, we're going to gradually get the height of the strip is going to end up down to just one stitch at the end when you get to the end of your clue 5 row. Okay, assuming you've done everything correctly. So we're past row 4. I didn't do it on row 4, but this would be a good time to just take your strip and pull it over your top row of clue 5. So mine is a little short actually, which tells me I should probably rip this out and start over with one hook size larger. So if I have, right now I'm using a 5.5 millimeter, so I probably need to go up to my 6 millimeter hook to make this, because what you don't want to do if your 109 stitches going up this strip is not the same length as your project. So I'm about 2.5, 3 stitches shy of the full length. If it's short, there's a really good chance that when this wedge is complete, and you, let's just say, and we do other things in the next clue to fill things in, then there's a really good chance that you're going to end up with a, not a flare, the opposite of a flare. You're going to have, your edges are going to pull in on this clue. So my recommendation is take your wedge, fold it at the very end where you started the chain, and just lay it across your project. It should be, if you have the right hook size, it should just basically be the same length as the width of your project. All right, so I am going to start this again. I'm going to start with a different hook size, so I'm going to pick it up with once I finish that hook size, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now I have switched to, I ripped back out, I switched to a J hook or a 10, which is a 6 millimeter hook. And now that I've done that, if I bring my strip across, and from this, so I want this bottom edge to be the one I'm measuring, but if I bring that across, I basically have the same width as my project. So that tells me the hook size that I'm using now is going to be the best one to make sure that my sides stay straight when I make this and future parts of this project. Okay, so now that I've done that, I am getting ready to start the row 3 repeat. So again, this is with your color F. So begin row 3 with a chain 1. This is a row 3 repeat, chain 1, and turn back to the right side of the work and start with a single crochet decrease. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through a loop, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 3. That's the single crochet decrease. And then the pattern repeat for row 3 is just single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet, and you're just going to do this. Oops, sorry. You're just going to do this until you have one more chain space remaining. So in that last chain space, you're just going to work a single crochet. You're going to skip the next single crochet, and then you're going to put a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches that are in the top of clue 5. That top row of clue 5. So single crochet 1 and 2. And that is the end of row 3 and what it should look like after you're working a repeat. All right, row 4, chain 1, turn to the wrong side of the work. You're going to skip the first single crochet. So that's this one that's down here on the top of clue 5. Single crochet in the next single crochet, which is also in the top of clue 5. And then you're going to skip the next single crochet with a chain 1. So the pattern repeat, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the chain space, and you're going to do that all the way through until you work the single crochet in the last chain space. Chain, skip, single crochet, 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 and then you should have 2 stitches remaining after that last single crochet in the chain space, and you're going to do the single crochet decrease. Insert the hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert the hook in the second stitch, drape your color E over the hook from right to left. If you want to carry the yarn up the edge kind of invisibly, then yarn over with the old color and pull through a loop, drop the old color, pick up the new color, yarn over, pull through 3. And that completes row 4 of the repeat. Row 5, chain 1, turn to the front. I'm going to start with a single crochet decrease. So insert the hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert the hook in the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, and then we're going to do a single crochet in the next stitch, which is a chain space. And this is the pattern repeat, so single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Do this all the way until you have 1 chain space remaining. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. And when you get to that last chain space, you're going to work a single crochet in the chain space, skip the next single crochet, which is the last one of the other color, and then you're going to work 2 single crochets down on the top of row 5. So 1, make sure it's right next to the previous one you worked, and then 2. Again, when you're working into the top of row 5, or top row of clue 5, you want to make sure that you're working into the exact next stitch, not the same stitch as a previous stitch, and not skipping any stitches. All right, and then the row 6 repeat, chain 1, turn to the wrong side, skip the first single crochet in the next single crochet, and then the repeat is chain 1, skip the single crochet, work a single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, all the way until you work in the last chain space. So that single crochet in the last chain space, and then you're going to work get my yarn organized here. Finish off the row by working a single crochet decrease and switching back to the other color. So your color F. So insert your hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert your hook in the second stitch, and if you want to carry your color invisibly, yarn over the hook from right to left with your color F, and then with your color E, yarn over and pull through a loop, drop color E, pick up color F, yarn over and pull through 3. All right, and so that's what you should have once you have worked a repeat of rows 3 through 6. So from this point, I am just going to continue on my little swatch here, and I'm actually going to meet you over near the end. So it's going to be close to your, I'm actually going to meet you where you're at your row 107. Okay, so that's where we're going to pick up, is at row 107. You're just going to repeat rows 3 through 6 until you get through row 107. So at the end of row 106, you should have, once you have finished row 105, or when you start row 106, you should have a total of 106 stitches worked into the top of your clue 5 row, or alternatively, you should have 3 stitches remaining at the end of your clue 5 row that haven't been worked into yet. Okay, so I will meet you at row 107. Okay, so when you get to when you finish row 106, or starting row 107, so I've actually done the chain 1 and turn for row 107, you should have 4 stitches here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you should have 3 stitches remaining on the top of your clue 5 row. So 4 stitches on this wedge, which now should, I mean, obviously mine's a lot shorter than yours, but should kind of have that same look as what I have here. Right, and yes, it might curl over a little bit on the top. You should be able to block that out just fine. Don't worry about that. Okay, so you should have 4 stitches here on the wedge and 3 stitches here on the top of your clue 5 row when you are ready to start row 107. Okay, so row 107, which you start on the wrong side, you do the chain 1 and you turn back to the right side. All right, and we are going to do our single crochet decrease. So insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert it in the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then we are going to single crochet in the chain space. That's right here. We're going to skip this last stitch that's at the top, or on the strip here, or on the wedge. And then we're going to do a single crochet into the next 2 stitches on the top row of clue 5. 1, 2, and at this point, you should only have 1 stitch remaining on the top of clue 5. All right, so chain 1, turn back to the wrong side. This is row 108. You're going to skip the first stitch, so single crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to do a single crochet decrease over these last 2 stitches. Insert the hook and pull through a loop, insert the hook, and then I'm going to bring my color E back over, and then yarn over, pull through with my color F, drop my color F, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 with my color E. All right, so that is the end of row 108. You should have just 2 stitches here on the wedge and 1 more stitch here at the bottom of or on your top row of clue 5. So 1 stitch on the top row of clue 5 and 2 stitches on your wedge. So for row 109, we are going to chain 1. We are going to turn back to the right side, and we're going to work a single crochet decrease here. So insert the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert the hook in the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, and then 1 single crochet, which goes in that last stitch on the bottom, or on the top row of clue 3. Single crochet there. All right, so you should have a total of 2 stitches here on your wedge. All right, so row 110, you're going to chain 1, you're going to turn, and you're just going to work a single crochet decrease right here. Doop, doop, and we're going to change to color F again. So when I insert my hook into that last stitch, I'm going to bring color F over the hook, and then yarn over, pull through a loop with color E, drop color E, and then yarn over and pull through 3 with color F. Right, and at that point I just have my 1 stitch. Okay, so for row 111, you're going to chain 1, you're going to turn, and row 111 is just 1 single crochet decrease. I know that there's been some confusion about this because you just have the 1 stitch on the wedge. To work this single crochet decrease, according to the designer, you're going to go ahead and insert the hook in that stitch that's on the wedge, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then go ahead and put your hook back into the very last stitch on the top row of clue 5. So it's where you made your last stitch for row 109. You're just going to go into that same stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 3. So that'll finish out your row 111, and that is it's basically just going to set it up so that you can begin clue 7 on a wrong side row. That's basically why we're doing the stitch here, and that'll kind of solidify up the end. So this is what you should have. Obviously yours will be longer of a wedge, but this is basically what you should have at the end of clue 6. And again, you should be able to block out, it will want to curl a little bit up here on the top edge of this wedge, and that should block out pretty easily. All right, you should have plenty of give to be able to just kind of pull it straight. And if you don't, then you may want to go back and make sure that you're not pulling the color that you're changing. When you're changing color, you want to make sure you're not pulling that too tightly, because that can be a way that that wedge or that edge gets pulled down in a way that you can't pull it straight. So you just want to make sure that you can pull it straight with your hand. If you can't, it's not going to block straight. So that's kind of it for the Dewy DK version. If you want to skip ahead, there is a shortened version on the CashSilk Sock. Okay, so this is clue 6 on the CashSilk Sock. I'm going to apologize up front. I really hope this white works out for me. One of the problems that I'm running into is my stash of CashSilk Sock. I don't have a lot of colors that do not bleed extensively when on camera, which makes it really hard for you to see the stitches and makes it kind of pointless for me to. So I actually, when I redid this swatch to get the wider swatch so that I could do clue 4, I did the colors that were most likely to bleed down here at the bottom, but now I'm running out again of colors. So I am going to use the white here. I hope it is sufficient and that you can actually see the stitches. It's a little bit of off-white, which is less likely to bleed, I think, than a true white on camera. The other thing I wanted to say is so when I did my larger swatch with the Dewy DK, I ended up having to use my larger hook to get the length that I needed in my strip that comes up from the edge of clue 5 to sufficiently be wide enough for that it's not going to pull in on the edges when I finish the next couple of clues. So you may want to go up if you were using a smaller hook size for your clue 5. You may want to go up a hook size for clue 6, but I'll show you. You're going to want to work at least the strip and then through rows like 4 or 6. I'm going to do it at row 6 just because it's a little bit easier. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to take your strip and you're going to kind of flip it across so that it's laying across the width of your project. And it's gonna give you a really good understanding of whether your strip is the right length to make the width of the project correct. Okay, so as if you watch through the other one, I'm gonna say I'm gonna repeat a lot of things, but to start, you want to make absolutely sure that you have the correct number of stitches across on the top of clue 5. If you count and you don't have 109, you need to make 109, like basically rip out the previous row and either add or remove stitches, either do a decrease or do an increase, like work 2 stitches into the same place. If you need another stitch and work 2 stitches, like do a single crochet decrease across 2 stitches so that turn 2 stitches into 1 if you need fewer stitches. Because you absolutely need to have the correct number of stitches across the top of your clue 5 or your clue 6 is not going to work correctly. Okay? All right, so to begin, you are going to chain 109. I'm not going to make you watch me chain. I'm going to be chaining significantly fewer. Just like you need to count your 109 stitches across the top of your clue 5, you need to absolutely be sure that you have a total of 109 chains, not 110, not 108. It needs to be the exact right number. So after you've chained, you need to count your chains and make sure that you have the right number of chain stitches. Okay, so once you have your 109 chain stitches, so I did want to show you this. So this is not where you want to like pull your chain across and see if it's the same width as your project, because your chain is going to be significantly longer now than it's going to be after you work into it. So you're going to have, if you pulled your chain across from where you made it just now across your project, you're going to have a substantially longer chain than you have project. And you don't want to measure it this way. You actually want to work several rows into the chain so it actually pulls the chains down to the size that they're actually going to be. Okay, so to begin, after we've worked the 109 chains that you counted at least twice and made sure you had the correct number of, we're going to be working row 1 into the back side of the chain. So if you look at the front of your chain, it should look like little kind of circles or ovals that are coming down into each other. So this is the front of your chain, and you want to turn to the back where you have these bumps going across the middle of the circle. Okay, so you're going to skip this first chain, which my first chain is really tiny. Hang on. That tends to happen. I like to pull it down. So we're going to skip the first chain, and we're going to work a single crochet into the bump of each of the rest of the chain. So because you did 109, you're going to be working a single crochet into 108. So you should have, by the time you get to the end of your chain, you should have 108 single crochets. And you just want to get underneath each one of those bumps. Might need to use a nail to kind of flip them up over the edge of the hook. Make sure you get through each one cleanly. It's going to look a lot tidier. And the reason that we're working into the bumps instead of a different part of the chain is it's going to make a nice, neat edge. That front side of the chain is what's going to form the edge of this particular clue. Oops. And again, you want to make sure you get all the way through under the full bump and don't split the stitch. All right, so when you get to the bottom of the chain, that's where I'll meet you. Okay, so when you get down to the bottom of your chain where it connects to your clue 5, you do want to make sure that you go into the bump on the back of that stitch where it actually connects to clue 5. And that's what should give you your 108 single crochets in your chain, which is obviously going to be a lot longer than mine is here. All right, so go ahead and count those before you proceed. You should have a total of 108 single crochets across your chain. And then from here, you're going to work a single crochet in each of the first two stitches on the top of your clue 5 row. So this first one is going to go into the very first stitch. All right, don't skip that. That is, it's where you changed colors. It's where your chain starts, but you want to make sure that that's your first stitch. All right, so single crochet there, and then single crochet into the very next stitch. So you should have 2 single crochets in the top row of your clue 5, and then a total of 108 in this chain that's coming off the edge of your clue 5 for a total of 110 single crochets across. All right. Row 2, we're going to do a chain 1. We're going to turn to the wrong side of the work here. And then we're going to skip the first single crochet. So that's the one that's in the second stitch at the top of clue 5. We're going to work a single crochet into the first stitch, the single crochet that's in the first stitch. So the next single crochet, we're going to work a single crochet there. And then we are going to work the following sequence. We're going to chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and then work a single crochet into the next single crochet. Okay, so that repeat again. Chain 1, skip a single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch. And you're going to do this all the way up your chain until you have 2 single crochets left at the very end. All right, so if you want to, you can put a marker in the second to last single crochet just so you know when you get there and you don't have to worry about counting, but you're just going to continue working that. Chain, skip, single crochet in the next stitch. And you're just going to do that all the way up until you have 2 stitches left. So you should end with the single crochet, right? Chain, skip, single crochet, and then you should have 2 more single crochets remaining. And here is where you're going to do 2 things. So you're going to do a single crochet decrease. So you're going to work 1 single crochet across 2. You're going to create 1 stitch out of these last 2 stitches, but we're also going to switch to our other color. So we're in our color E, we're going to add our color F here. So here's how I'm doing it, and this is just so that I can catch my yarn before I start and also so that this will set up for carrying my colors invisibly up the edge. So I'm going to go into the first stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the last stitch. I'm going to bring my color F. I'm going to drape it over the hook so the tail is to the left and the yarn going to the ball is to my right. And then with my color E, I'm going to yarn over and pull through a loop. And I'm going to drop my color E, and I'm going to pick up my color F from the left. So kind of to the left of my color E. And I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops with my color F. Okay, and that is time-stamped. That last single crochet decrease and switching to color F is time-stamped. So if you want to go back and watch it again, you can. And that is the end of row 2. So row 3 starts our pattern, like our full pattern repeat. So the pattern repeat is rows 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you're just going to repeat those over and over and over again. And technically, row 3 and 5 are exactly the same, and rows 4 and 6 are basically the same. It's just at the end of row 4, you're switching back to color E, and at the end of row 6, you're switching back to color F. So other than that, working rows 3 and 4 is basically the same as working rows 5 and 6. You're just working with a different color. So once you get the hang of it, you won't even have to look at the pattern. It's a really, really straightforward. It's really simple. You do the same thing at the beginning of every right side row, and at the end of every right side row, you do the same thing at the end of, or at the beginning and end of every wrong side row, just switching to the other color each time you get to the end of the wrong side row. Okay? So row 3, chain 1, turn to the front. You're going to start with a single crochet decrease. So insert the hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Insert the hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 3. And then from there, you are going to work the pattern repeat for row 3, which is single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. That repeat again, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. You're just going to do this all the way across, all right, until you get to the last chain space. So the end of the pattern repeat is the chain 1, skip 1. So you will have one more chain space remaining after you finish a repeat. All right, so when you get to the very end, you should have one chain space remaining. So you do the single crochet in the chain space. Then you're going to skip this last single crochet here and work 2 single crochets. So a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, which are both going to be on the top of your clue 5 top row again. So 1, you want to make sure you're getting into the very next stitch. So not the same stitch as you worked the last single crochet, and not skipping any stitches. 2. All right, and that is the end of row 3, which is if I can get this it is going to want to kind of twirl around on you a little bit, but that's what it should look like when you get to the end of your row 3. Just your strip's going to be a lot longer than mine is. Okay, so that's the end of row 3. Row 4, you want to chain 1. You're going to turn to the wrong side, and we're going to skip the first stitch, work a single crochet in the next stitch. So that's the first of the 2 stitches that you worked into the top of clue 5. So the second one you skipped, and then the one that you worked first into the top of clue 5 is what you're working here. And then your pattern repeat here is chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space. All right, you're going to do that all the way up to the top, the last chain space. So chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, all the way until you have single crocheted in the very last chain space, at which point you should have 2 stitches remaining at the end of your strip. All right, so I single crochet in this final chain space, and then when you have 2 single crochets remaining, you are going to work a single crochet decrease and switch to the other color. So the way I do that, again, I insert the hook in the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I insert the hook in the next, which is also the last stitch, and then I drape my color that I'm going to be switching to over my hook from right to left. Just let it lay there, yarn over with my current color and pull through, and then drop my current color, and sorry, my yarn's kind of in the way here. So drop my current color, pick up the color I'm switching to, and yarn over and pull through all three. Okay, so that completes the single crochet decrease and switches to back to color E. So row 5 is worked with color E. We're going to chain 1, we're going to turn to the front, and we're going to work the exact same way that we did row 3, which is begin with a single crochet decrease, yarn over and pull up a loop, sorry, insert the hook in the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert the hook in the second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, and then you should have a chain space immediately next to that. So you're going to work a single crochet in the chain space. This is our pattern repeat: single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip 1. That repeat again, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. You're going to do this all the way down until you have 1 chain space remaining. All right, so when you get to the end of your strip and you have 1 chain space remaining in that strip, you're going to work a single crochet into that chain space, skip the last stitch on the strip, and then work 2 single crochets into the top of clue 5. Again, making sure that you're working into the very next stitch from the last time you worked there, and then that you're not skipping any stitches. So basically, and I said this in the thicker yarn portion, but basically when you finished a odd numbered row, you should have one more stitch in the top of your clue 5 row than that number, or the same number as the even numbered row you're getting ready to work. So for instance, I just finished row 5, which means I should have 6. I'm getting ready to start row 6. So I should have 6 single crochets in the top of my clue 5 at this point. I should have worked into the first 6 stitches. That means when you get to row 10, you should have 10 stitches, or when you're getting ready to start row 10, you should have 10 stitches in the top of your clue 5. When you get to when you're ready to start row 50, you should have 50 stitches in the top of your clue 5. When you get to row 106, you should have 106 stitches in the top of your clue 5. So that should help you stay on track and make sure you're not using too many stitches, not too few stitches. You should be able to count across your clue 5 stitches. You should be able to pull it out and make sure you're not skipping anything, but you should have 2 of each color, so 2, 4, 6. And you can kind of keep track of what row you're on from there as well. Okay, so row 6, we begin with the chain 1, we turn to the wrong side of the work, and we're going to skip the first stitch, work a single crochet in the next stitch, and then the pattern repeat for the row is chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space. You're going to do this all the way to the very last single crochet in the chain space. Okay, when you single crochet in the last chain space, you should have 2 stitches remaining at the very end of this strip. All right, so when you have single crochet in that final chain space and you have 2 stitches left, you're going to work a single crochet decrease and switch back to your color F. So insert the hook in the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then insert the hook in the last stitch. And if you want to carry your colors invisibly, go ahead and drape your color F over your hook from right to left. And then with your color E, yarn over and pull through a loop, drop color E, and then pick up color F. And then again, you want to pick it up from the left, like underneath and to the left of your color E, and then yarn over and pull through 3. All right, and that is the end of row 6. So I'm going to repeat rows 3 through 6 one more time, and then I'm going to jump ahead to the end of row 106. Okay, so this is the repeat of row 3, which is also going to be your row 7. So chain 1, turn to the front or the right side of the work, work a single crochet decrease. So insert the hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert the hook into the next stitch, which I always make too tight, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, and then you're going to single crochet in the next stitch, which is a chain space. So the pattern repeat, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet. And you're going to do that all the way down. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. And you're going to do that all the way down until you have one more chain space remaining at the end of your strip. Okay, so when you have that final chain space left, you're going to work a single crochet in the chain space. You're going to skip this final single crochet that's at the end of the strip. It's going to be a little long because it has the chain in front of it. It has like a chain and then a single crochet. So it's a little bit longer than just a regular single crochet. So you're going to skip that. And then you're going to work a single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches on the top row of clue 5. To end your row 3 repeat, and that's what it should look like when you're finished with the row. Obviously, again, yours is going to be longer than mine, but you can see how when we're working into those chain spaces, it's forming almost like little teeth of the color that's dropping down into the opposite color. Okay, so row 4 repeat, chain 1, turn to the wrong side, skip the first single crochet, work a single crochet in the next single crochet, and then the pattern repeat for row 4, chain 1, skip the single crochet, work a single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, skip the single crochet, work a single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the chain space, chain, skip, single crochet in the chain space, chain, skip, single crochet in the chain space, chain, skip, single crochet in the chain space, and you're going to do this all the way until you work the single crochet in the very last chain space, at which point you should have 2 stitches left at the very end of this strip. All right, so single crochet in that very last chain space, and then from here you're going to work a single crochet decrease over the last 2 stitches and switch back to color E. So insert the hook in the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert the hook in the last stitch, and if you want to carry your color invisibly, drape that color E over the hook from right to left, and then yarn over with your color F and pull up a loop, and then drop color F to the right, and so drop color F to the right, pick up color E from underneath on the left, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And that is the end of the row 4 repeat, which should look like that. So I didn't do it. I should have done it earlier. I'll do it now. So if you want to make sure that your strip isn't going to end up being too wide for your piece and flare out, you just want to grab that and you want to kind of bring it, so you want to kind of change it at the corner here. So you want to make sure it's not pulling over clue 5 at all, but you want to kind of bring that very edge over here and then just kind of lay it across your piece. And even though it curls up a little bit at the end here, it should be basically the same width as your clue 5. Like you should be able to kind of lay it across and get it to lay across your clue 5 without it being really, really gappy. So like if you had a huge gap here, then your hook size is too big. And if you pull it across and it's not quite making the edge, then you're going to want to go down a hook size, or go up a hook size if it's not as long as your clue 5, and go down a hook size if it's way too long or if it's gappy. But it should be basically the same length as clue 5 when you lay it across here. Okay, so it's a little, I should have done it after I finished clue 6 the first time, or row 6 the first time. I forgot. So but that's a good way to determine whether or not you're using the correct hook hook size on this. Okay. Row 5 repeat, so chain 1, turn it to the right side, and you're going to start with a single crochet decrease. So insert the hook in the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert the hook in the second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 3. And then you should have a chain space immediately next to that. So you're going to start your repeat, which is single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. You're going to do this all the way until you have one more chain space remaining at the end of the strip. All right, so when you have one more single crochet or one more chain space, so you'd have single crochet, chain space, single crochet. In that last chain space, you're going to work a single crochet. You're going to skip the final single crochet that's on the strip, and then you're going to work one single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches on the top row of clue 5. All right. And that is what it should look like when you get to the end of your row 5 repeat. Just longer. So you can see, so my tails are a little bit in the way here, but you should be able to see a very clear diagonal on the edge of your wedge. Okay, so where it's decreasing here on the edge, that should be pretty obvious. All right, and then the row 6 repeat. Begin with a chain 1, turn to the wrong side, and then you're going to skip the first single crochet and work a single crochet into the next single crochet, and then the pattern repeat for row 6, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, chain, skip, single crochet in the chain space, chain, skip, single crochet in the chain space. You're just going to do this all the way up until you work the single crochet in the final chain space. So work that final single crochet in the chain space, and you should have 2 stitches remaining. When you get to those last 2 stitches, you're going to do a single crochet decrease and switch back to your color F. So insert the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert the hook into the last stitch, and if you want to carry your color invisibly, just drape color F over your hook from right to left, and then with color E, yarn over and pull through a loop, drop color E, pick up color F, yarn over, pull through 3. All right, so you're just going to continue working rows 3 through 6 all the way across. Your strip is going to continue getting shorter and shorter as you work. You're going to have fewer and fewer stitches here, and I am going to meet you at the very end of row 106, where you're only going to have 4 stitches left in your project. So you'll have 4 stitches left on your wedge. You will still have, when you get to the end of row 106, you're going to still have stitches left at the end of your clue 5. Okay, so you should still have, when you finish row 106, or after you've worked row 105, you will still have 3 stitches left at the end of your clue 5 top row. Okay, so I will meet you at the end of row 106. Okay, so I have just finished working row 105 here. So you can see at the end of row, if I can get stuff out of the way, at the end of row 105, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, and then the 2, so 4 on the wedge, and then, let me make sure I have that right. 1, 2, 3, yeah. 4 on the wedge, and then 2 in the top of clue 5. All right. And that should leave you with 3 stitches remaining at the end of your clue 5 row. So turn to work row 106. Still just skip the first stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain space, and that gets you to your last 2 stitches. And you're going to work a single crochet decrease. So insert the hook, pull up a loop, insert the hook, and I'm just going to drape my color F over from right to left, yarn over and pull up a loop with color E, and then drop color E, pull through all three with color F. All right, so row 107, we're going to chain one, turn to the front of the work, and we're still going to work our single crochet decrease to start. All right, and then we're going to chain one, or we're going to work a single crochet in the chain space. So we have our single crochet decrease, single crochet in the chain space, skip the single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet into 2 stitches on the top of row 5, or in the top row of clue 5. So single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches on the top of clue 5. Whoops. Try that again. So 1 and 2, that'll leave you with 1 stitch remaining at the top row of clue 5, final stitch there. So row 108, chain 1, turn to the back, skip the first stitch, then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then work a single crochet decrease over the last 2 stitches, and switch back to our color E. So pull through those last 3 loops with my color E. So at this point you should have, I'm going to turn to the side here, you should have 2 stitches on the wedge and then 1 final stitch on the top row of clue 5. So row 109, we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn back to the front, we're going to still make our single crochet decrease. It says over 2 stitches, so these are the 2 stitches in the wedge. 1, 2, so this is the first time we're not skipping that last single crochet at the end of the wedge. So single crochet decrease there, and then 1 single crochet, and that goes in the final stitch at the end of clue 5, that row of clue 5, okay? Single crochet there, and that is the end of row 109. So you should have 2 stitches, the single crochet decrease in the wedge, and then that last stitch at the end of the clue 5 row. So we'll chain 1 for row 110, chain 1, we're going to turn to the back, and then we're just going to work this single crochet decrease. So we're going to insert our hook in the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert the hook in the next stitch, and again I'm going to just bring my color F over the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop with E, and then drop E, and yarn over and pull through all 3 with F, and that's going to leave me with 1 stitch. Okay, so row 111, I know that there's been some confusion, and I did clarify this with the designer. You do have 1 stitch here at the end of row 110. You just have the 1 stitch that you created, and row 111 tells you to work a single crochet decrease. So what you're going to do is, after you do your chain 1 and turn, go ahead and insert your hook into that 1 stitch that's on the wedge, and yarn over and pull through a loop, and then you're going to go back into this very last stitch on the top row of clue 5. So it's the same stitch that you made, it's the same place you made a stitch at the end of row 109. You're just going to insert your hook in that same stitch, the very last stitch on the top of clue 5, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 3. So that concludes, that's how to work row 111. Basically all we're doing is setting up for the beginning of clue 7, because it's going to start with a wrong side row, and so we had to work this last thing just to get to the right place so that we can start clue 8 on the wrong side. So that is the end of clue 6, and although yours will be obviously much longer, what your project should look like at the end of clue 6. So the only thing left to do from this point is go ahead and you can cut your color E from here because you're done. You do want to make sure once you have everything finished that this edge, it's going to curl. That's natural. That's just the way it is, but you should be able to pull it straight. Okay, so if your edge is so tight that you can't pull this curl out at the end, you need to redo something. Like you're either carrying your yarn too tightly here, or you're working your single crochet decreases at the end of the row, at this top edge. You're working those too tightly and you need to loosen them up a little bit. You should be able to, just with your hand, pull it straight. And as long as you can do that, it's going to block out just fine. Okay, so just make sure that you can do that. And then the only other thing I'm going to do is here at the very end of the video, I want to talk about a little bit. So the way that she has you work when you come down to the edge where you meet up with the top row of clue 5, I am not personally a fan of the holes that form here. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I do when I get to the end of the right side row. It's totally up to you. I did not include it in the tutorial, the tutorial proper, because I didn't want to mislead anybody. It's not part of the pattern. It's just a modification that I made because I like everything to be just a little bit more closed up than it is where you get these holes where you skip that final single crochet. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to rip back a few stitches or a few rows here, and I'm going to show you how I work it, just in case you're interested. Again, totally up to you. Okay, so I've just backed out a bit here. I'm not going to actually start over again with this, but I did want to demonstrate exactly how it is that I work this modification to get the end of the rows, or I guess the left side of the right side. That didn't make sense. When you're on the right side row, it's going to be the part of the row that's closest to the end or right up next to the top of clue 5. So normally when you are working a right side row, you start with your single crochet decrease, and then you work a single crochet into the chain space, skip a single crochet and make a chain, or chain 1, skip the single crochet, and then single crochet in the chain space. So the pattern repeat for the right side rows once you start it is single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, skip the single crochet. So you do that all the way across, and then in this very last chain space, you're going to make one more single crochet. And then the pattern tells you to skip this last stitch. So this last stitch is actually almost 2 stitches high. So we have the chain, the turning chain from the previous row, and the skipped single crochet from the previous row here, and then we have the single crochet that we actually worked into that we're now going to be skipping. So it creates this basically 2 stitch gap where you're not working into anything, and that's what makes the big hole next to. So the way that I work this is, instead of skipping this next stitch, I work it as a single crochet decrease with the next stitch on the top of clue 5. So normally you'd skip this stitch, single crochet in the next stitch at the top of clue 5. So instead, I insert my hook into that stitch that I would normally skip, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I insert my hook into the next stitch on the top row of clue 5, yarn over and pull up a loop there, and then yarn over, pull through 3. So I'm single crochet decreasing the stitch that I would skip with the next stitch that I would work, and I'm going to get 1 stitch out of that, which is exactly what you'd get when you work this stitch. You wouldn't have anything here, and then you'd work a single crochet here. So instead of doing that, instead of doing skip this, work this, I'm doing the single crochet decrease, and that's going to tie this skipped stitch together with the actual stitch that I'm making in the border, or in that top row of clue 5. And then after that, you would just work that last stitch, the last single crochet. So really the modification is, instead of skipping this stitch and working a single crochet in the top of clue 5, I'm working a single crochet decrease, or single crocheting these 2 stitches together. So insert my hook, pull up a loop, insert my hook, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook to tie the end of this row to the edge of this clue 5 row. And that's my first stitch here, and I want 2 stitches in the top of clue 5, so that I work 1 more. Okay, so I'll show you that again when I get there. Okay, again, so as you come to the end of the row, you have your, single crochet in the chain space, and then chain 1, skip 1, and then you're going to have 1 more single crochet in the chain space near the end of the row. Then you would skip this next stitch and work a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches on the top row of clue 5. And instead, I'm going to work a single crochet decrease. So I'm going to insert my hook in the stitch that you're supposed to skip, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then insert my hook into the first stitch that I'm supposed to work on the top row of clue 5, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 3. So that single crochet decreases the edge of the wedge to the top of clue 5, and then I work one more single crochet in the top of clue 5. So that gives me those 2 stitches. I still have 2 stitches here. I have the correct stitch count. It's just going to tie the bottom edge of the wedge more closely to the top of clue 5. So then when you turn and you do the chain 1 and turn and work back, you're still skipping the first stitch, and then the stitch that you're working into is this one that's kind of that's the single crochet decrease between the wedge and the top of clue 5. So that's where you're working your first stitch each time when you turn and go back the other direction. Okay, and then you just work it as usual. So it's really just that single crochet decrease at the very end, where instead of skipping a stitch and then working 2 in the top of clue 5, you're working a single crochet decrease between the stitch you're supposed to skip and the first stitch in the top of clue 5 as one stitch, and then one more stitch in the top of clue 5. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, I'm not including it in the actual tutorial because it's totally optional. I kind of debated whether or not to include it at all. It's just, I prefer the way that this looks. And so rather than leave you hanging with just, I just wanted to provide another alternative for those who are interested. So if you like it and you want to do it that way, that is the way to do it. You're just, every time you're on a right side row, when you come near the end after you work that last single crochet, instead of skipping a stitch and working 2 single crochets in the top of clue 5, you're going to do a single crochet decrease with the skipped stitch, or the one that you're supposed to skip, and the first stitch on the top of clue 5 that you're supposed to work into. That's a single crochet decrease, so that's one stitch. And then you work a single crochet in the next stitch, and that's your second stitch there. And then you just work everything else as usual. So if you do this modification that I'm suggesting or offering, not necessarily suggesting, if you want to do it, do it. When you get to row 109, it may be a little confusing because you are working. So after you do the chain 1 and turn, you begin with that single crochet decrease, right? So you actually are working into that stitch that you normally would skip. So what I did here is I did the single crochet decrease, and then technically you're just supposed to work this stitch in the top of row, or the top row of clue 3. So you have the single crochet decrease and then skip this stitch. Well, you're not skipping the stitch. You do the single crochet decrease and then the stitch in the top of clue 5 to get your 2 stitches. And what I did is I went ahead and I did the single crochet decrease as well here from the stitch. So I have a single crochet decrease that I've actually worked into that stitch that we normally skip. So I'm just going to go into that stitch again, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then into this top row of clue 5, that last stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop there, and yarn over, pull through 3. So I have my 2 stitches here. It's just they're both a single crochet decrease, and the first stitch of the second one is worked into the same space as the second stitch of the first one. I hope that made sense. I'll show it to you again. So this is row 109. So after you do the chain 1 and turn, you start with a single crochet decrease in the first and second stitch. So that second stitch, you yarn over and pull it, or insert your hook into the first stitch and pull up a loop. And then that second stitch, this is the one you would normally skip. And so insert your hook there, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 3. And then I'm going to insert my hook in that same stitch where I just made that last, where I just pulled through that last loop. Insert, pull a loop through there, and then insert into the top row, that last stitch on the top row of clue 5, pull up a loop there, and yarn over, pull through 3. So then I have my 2 stitches for row 109, and I can do the chain 1, and I can turn, do my single crochet decrease, and switch to the other color. Sorry. Get this all organized here. So drop my color E, pick up my color F, yarn over and pull through those 3. So I got my 1 stitch here, and then I'll finish out with row 111, do chain 1 and turn, and then insert my hook into that one stitch there, and then again into the stitch at the top of the clue 5, that last stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop there, and then yarn over, pull through 3, and that's my one stitch for row 111, and gets me set up so that when I start clue 7, I'm actually on a wrong side row. Okay, so if you are doing the modification, that would be how you would work there at the end to continue and not end up with a little bulbous edge here where you've had that more flat all the way across. So hope that helps. So I think that's it. As usual, if you have any questions, if there's something I skipped or didn't do that you couldn't see well or that you would like to see differently, just drop me a note. I'm happy to give it a shot. I will tell you, I've got a lot of videos I got to get out in a very short period of time, so it may take me several weeks to get to at least. So I'll do my best, but it also might be easier to ask a question that if it's something that I can take a picture of, it might be faster than if I try to get a video out. So just be aware. But anyway, let me know if there's anything you'd like to see, anything I can help with, and I will see you for clue 7. Thanks so much.